Hey everyone, this is Virginia Parsons, the host of the Inspirational Businesswoman Show, and we are about to start a Blab with a wise leveragist called Jack Humphrey. Hold on for a moment while we get him in. Reintroduced to this is Virginia Parsons. I am the host of the Inspirational Businesswoman Show, and I have just finished interviewing Jack Humphrey over on Hangouts on Air. And he gave us some great information on leveraging your business. So if you want to think about what you have planned over the next 12 months and perhaps accomplish it in 12 weeks, he's your man. That's Jack Humphrey, just finished publishing a book called The Leverage Blackbook, along with Gina Gaudio-Graves. And he's going to share some more information with us today. And we've got some people, hopefully, they're going to make it on over from the Hangout comment area and ask questions directly. If not, I'm going to ask Jack a few more questions, and that'll give you a chance to learn a little bit more about what he means about leverage and how you can start applying it in your life and simplify things and get the work done you need so that ultimately you can add profit to your bottom line instead of more on your to-do list. So Jack, I'm going to take it from there, and I'd like you to just give people who are joining us in Blab a little background, as I said, about the Leverage Blackbook, how it came to be, and why you decided the world need to know about leverage in a little more detail than they have been exposed to in the past. So go ahead.
Well, thanks for having me.
Now, Jack, we just lost your audio. Interesting. Hold on. It might be me. This is another problem I had with Blab last week. Let me try something here. All right, try talking.
How about now?
All right, that's what I had to do. This is another thing that's changed on Blab. Okay, I can hear you. Go ahead. That means everyone else can hear you too.
Awesome. I was looking around for the little settings button. They don't appear to have one here. So Hope is my co-pilot.
I live on hope, Jack. Believe me, even though I've got a lot of experience and skills in this area, I live on hope every day I broadcast. Okay, go ahead. Take it away.
Yeah, so we were talking about leverage in the Leverage Blackbook. And yeah, the Leverage Blackbook is finally just coming to terms with what I figure we were talking about, my co-author and I, Gina Gaudio-Graves, the JB Queen, all the time anyway. I mean, we're just constantly talking. Leverage is the thread that runs through everything that we do. So we decided to finally write a book just about what we're really talking about when we're talking about content marketing or social media marketing or any of that other stuff, the thousands of little things that you can do to run and grow a business. I think one of the things that started me off was I just found it really funny. And I said on another show today, I was saying, I want to do a video. You know how, like, if you watch Dr. Oz and you watched him for a whole year and you took every single you bought and then you put into your little pill thing, every single supplement that he recommended through the whole year, that just the ones that applied to you, not the things that, I mean, if you're not diabetic, just the ones that applied to you, you would have a fistful of pills like this to take at the end of the year. I mean, and every day for every meal. So internet marketing is the same thing. You could go, on BuzzFeed and all of these different sites and find out 10 ways to do this and 50 ways to do that and blah, blah, blah. I thought it would be really funny to start a video where I'd be starting at 6 a.m. and I will have just gotten up from sleeping for a half an hour from working the day before and doing everything that everybody has ever said is really current right now. Not just everything, but only the things that apply to you and your business, things you could do right now to promote your business. And I would just funnily run the clock forward and say, I'm trying to make my business more interesting by including a cat and putting it on Facebook and because so-and-so on their blog said I should do that, and just go through the thousands and thousands of things. And then at the end of the day, go back and look at the impact that I made. And the biggest impact that you'll find that you made was on your own health, because you didn't walk, you didn't lift weights, you didn't go for a ride, you didn't talk to your family, you didn't get a hug from your kid, you didn't do all of these things. The biggest impact is going to be the one that's on your own personal life, which you did not have the chance to have all day long. And if that's your business model, or if any of that is maybe goes a little off the comedy beat and hits a little too close to home, then you might want to read the Leverage Blackbook because that's what we're really seeking to. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in the reality of the internet and all of the things, which is hilarious to say, the reality of the internet. But that we lose the goal. We lose the goal. Why did we start our business in the first place? And the reason is because we sat up one time and thought, oh my God, if I do this and the business gets like this, and you thought about the big end goal. What was the big outcome that you wanted? And how many times have you allowed yourself to sit down and have that thought since? Most people are like, well, very sporadically, if much at all, because I've got to make my thing on Facebook, and I got to get my editorial calendar going. I got to make a blog post. I got to do a podcast. I got to do all this stuff. And any one of those stuffs could be really important, but chances are most people don't know which of those things are the important thing that they should be doing, and where they should replace the rest of it with leverage. And that's what we try to work people through in the Black Book.
So are you suggesting then that people have a tendency to start with the little things in their business rather than the big picture, and therefore they get wrapped up in doing a lot of stuff that isn't necessarily very leveraged to get to their final goal?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people out there who are really good at what you, dear listener or viewer, probably aren't as good at. And so if you find somebody that makes social media look really easy, like you see like Joel Comm or Virginia trying to put like 15 different pieces of separate third-party apps and software and everything else together to make a multi-channel show or something like that, those guys can make it look easy. Could you really do that? Could you make it look easy? Or would you rather be the next thing that those guys need? While they're really good at putting all of those things together, they're doing that because they need guests, so that they'd have a platform for guests to show up on. And maybe you would be better suited as a guest on somebody's big podcast or show or whatever, and leave all of that other stuff to them. It goes to the same point with marketing. Now, while you can understand on the page of the course that you just bought that says that you have to work all day long putting together this content and doing all this stuff on social and being a social maven, a butterfly, whatever you want to call it, and getting all this stuff done, all this content, and you're just prolific and you're drinking energy drinks or whatever, and you're doing everything you possibly can to get it all done, you probably didn't even question whether or not that's really the best thing suited for you. You probably just started doing it because you thought that was your only choice. So I'm going to have to do what Virginia does. I'm going to have to do what Joel Comm does, because if I want to be like them, if I want to have an audience like they do, then I'm going to have to do what they do. And nothing could be further from the truth. If they're already doing it and they're in front of your audience, if they're cultivating your ideal audience, you should be on their show. You should not try to have a show like theirs, because after all, they're already out ahead of you. As anybody in your industry who's already succeeding, and you're looking at them as like, I want to be them in 2 years. It looks like it took them about 2 years from their last interview. I pieced together all the facts, and it seems like it was a couple of years. I could do that. I could do a couple of years of work and get to them. And I say, leverages say, why don't you just go there now? Their audience is there. It took them 2 years to put it together. It's going to take them another 2 years to triple that audience. And while you're still trying to match what they got right now in 2 years, why don't you just float atop the internet and just kind of go like what I call stage diving or crowd surfing? All the crowds that you need to put together are put together out of the same potential audience that anybody has for any product or idea. There's a ball of audience for everybody. If no matter what kind of shoes you make, no matter what kind of services you provide, whatever, there's only this much in every, and everybody's picking off of that. Virginia, have you ever seen the Planet Earth thing where the mackerels or the salmon or whatever are swimming in this little ball, and the dolphins are just keeping them in a ball, and they just go in and pick them off every once in a while?
Yeah.
That's what this is. That's what this is like. It's just a ball of people. It's the same exact ball, and every single dolphin out there has to share in it. So you're not putting a list together in an industry that's never been put together. You're stealing audience share from somebody who already has those people on their list. You need to know that, because if you look at it in that way, it makes you take stock of everything that you do and look at it all completely from a different perspective. We're all in this together. We're eating the same ball of mackerel. And, and, and if you do like one of those obnoxious sharks or somebody do, the dolphins will keep the ball in a nice tight ball and everything. And then a shark will come in and just push the fish all over the place and ruin all the work that the dolphins were doing. That's kind of what you're doing. You're kind of being a shark at that point. You're ruining the work that everybody else does. They've already got the attention of the people who would be our ideal customers. Why look at them as competition? Why not look at them as an asset and go, wait, I could just build a time machine and go forward 2 years and get in front of that person's audience right now, instead of building my own, which is impossible because they already have it. It's not a separate audience. You'd have to steal from them to get that audience to you, which is a really neat capitalistic kind of thing and Darwinian and everything. But most entrepreneurs, and I dare say most of Virginia's viewers feel like that. You don't feel like a raging Wall Street capitalist. You're in business and you're entrepreneurial, but nobody wants to play that shark game. You want to, you're in this for something a little bit more than that. Most people are. Most entrepreneurs I've ever worked with are not like that. They want to do good in the world, and they want to do good by their family, and they have a balanced life, and they don't want to be cutthroat or anything like that. And so I'd imagine that most of you guys are too. And that's the way you would do it, is work with other people and network and serve other people. And you will get in front of these, you'll get on these really big stages. Sometimes you can just walk right on. Sometimes you don't have to pay any dues at all. And people will be like, oh, God, you can talk about this? Come on. I need somebody right now. Stuff like that can happen.
What would you say if someone as an entrepreneur has got their big vision? Because that's the first step, as you start focusing on what the big vision is, that what you want for your business, where you'd like to be in a year and do it in 12 weeks, as you said. What are some of the first steps that someone should take in order to, for instance, if they want to be a guest on a show, or if they want to offer themselves to be a guest if there's a cancellation, what kind of approach do you suggest they take?
Learn everything about them that you possibly can. And you will expose areas where they're weak, where they need some help, where they're vulnerable, where they, would really, really appreciate somebody noticing that about them and offering to help. So there are lots of tells that people have on their social streams. Just pick the one that they're the most prolific on. If their go-to is Facebook, be there and read about what they're talking about. Find out about their primary concerns. They'll broadcast it, and they're telling people all the time how to work with them. But if you don't see through the eyes of a leveragist, you don't see it at all. You might call it complaining, or you might call it any number of things but a cry for help, which is what you should be seeing and noticing. And people will say, I really can't stand it when guests don't show up when they say they're going to, or I really can't stand it when this happens or whatever, or just that's not really complaining. I mean, it could be or couldn't be. It's immaterial to you as a leveragist. You look at it and go, that's opportunity. If somebody's treating them like that, the thing that they're going to be the most responsive to right now is getting treated exactly the opposite of that. All I have to do is exactly the opposite of what just made them mad, and it's their thing, it's their world. You're trying to match up to their world and where they are right at the moment, instead of what people inadvertently but still rudely do is just impose themselves. Virginia, I don't care what you got going on right now. I'd like to talk to you about this opportunity I have for you, and you're just sitting there going, I don't care. I couldn't care less. And then you do that a couple of times because you saw your dad do that when he was a traveling salesman or whatever in the old days. And now all of a sudden, that's failing for you. And then you start to get people going out and ranting about how they were done unfairly. This internet thing isn't the way it was cracked up to be. They sold me a bunch of goods. And the thing is, you never even knew that the entire time you could have done it a different way and been completely on the other side of the success scale, of the success line, just by, using leverage and being more attentive to those things that people need. Everybody needs something. Oprah needs something. If you can find out what that is and give it to her, she's all ears, and your stage is her stage, or her stage is yours.
Yeah, so that's the key, is finding that out. So what you're suggesting, if I'm understanding this correctly, is that you really do some research first on the influencers that you want to connect with. And you get to, that wouldn't really be any different than getting to know a business or a company that you want to do business with. You're not just going to go in cold and start to ask them to pay attention to you and listen to what you have to offer. at least spend some time doing your research and finding out, where they might have some needs. And as you said, on the interview, and for those of you who are joining us on the Blab or during the replay, we did do a full interview with Jack over on Hangouts on Air. And if you'd like to catch that interview, all you have to do is go to hmtips.com/invite, and you can see that entire interview there. So we're sort of expanding on what we discussed there. So you've got people that you follow that are influencers. You pay attention to what their needs are, because as you said, people in business are very busy, oftentimes overwhelmed with the work that they're trying to get done. And so you need to approach it from the standpoint of what valuable asset can I bring to them? What is it of value that I can provide for them and their business that will make life easier for them? Because everyone's busy. That's your big, that's a big takeaway I had from the discussion we had earlier.
Well, it's like a Russian nesting doll too, because the very thing that you can use that would even make you think you could go and talk to somebody like that in the first place, being leverage, because I just said that would be a really good big point of leverage, and it would teach you how to think like a leveragist. Well, a leveragist would do that. But guess what? When you find somebody who's really, really busy and you're trying to make the biggest impact that you can with somebody to slow them down for long enough to go, I'm really busy, can you make this quick? But you sound like you're interesting, so I'm going to listen to you. Then all of a sudden outside of that or inside that other doll, you pull out some more leverage. Anybody who describes themselves as being way too busy, who's known throughout the niche, throughout their circle of influence to be very, very, very busy, probably is having a really big struggle with leverage themselves, i.e. they don't have any in their business whatsoever. Mm-hmm. So take what you learn and give it to other people. I've given you today some things that you could just take, wrap up in a nice little bow and give to somebody else. And that can be your in for getting on a really big stage. Before I talked to, before I got on Virginia's show or whatever, I found her in a horrid state of, she just seemed imbalanced and she was not happy and she wasn't getting the things done that she wanted to, and she wasn't spending enough time. And so I showed her this one little leverage thing, which I learned from Jack over on somebody's show, and there you go. And then if you can change their life, if you can do something and be the only thing I know how to do is share leverage ideas with other people. If I want to get in front of their audience, I need to make life better for them in some way. And I either do that by helping their audience, which is always a given. I'm going to do something to help their audience if they let me on their stage. And then I, whatever I can do to make their life, if you can make their personal life better quality of life, more time, if you just did both of these together at the same time or something like that, whatever, you could do something as small as just giving them some advice or pointing out maybe a better way or a different way to do things that they're not doing. Another mistake that we make is we look at somebody and say they've got it so together, they probably know everything that's in my head. That's a huge, huge, huge mistake. Because I run into new things, new situations all the time where I'm thinking I know everything about my industry, or I'm on top of this issue or that issue, and then somebody comes along and tells you something, shows you something, and you're like, how in the world did I miss that? Well, the world is a very, very big place, and the internet is many, many layers of onions deep around you, and you're not even in those layers yet of understanding of context, and we all need each other to help keep ourselves up on what's available to us and the things that are going on that are really, really important to us in our business growth. And if you can be that person for somebody that you would benefit greatly from them feeling like they need to reciprocate now by maybe, letting you guest blog or introducing you to somebody very influential that you'd like to get in front of their audience in the market, then that's kind of how all this stuff works. So if somebody puts out a list of 15 things you can do to go out and get more, please start to disregard those articles and those kinds of things more and more until you're not really looking at them anymore. I haven't looked at a list post in so long, Virginia. It's like, I don't want 10 ways to do. I only wanted one way. I only can do one way at a time anyway.
You want the most effective way, right? The most leveraged way. Yeah.
Right. And the top of all of those lists could just be leverage. And then just a little guy dropping a mic in a GIF. Just, that's it. Just leverage. Yeah. So it's interesting how hard people will work. It's almost as if we do have a kind of a sub-religion in this, at least in the United States, where, you have to be able to prove how hard you work to get where you are today, or it wasn't worth it, or you somehow scammed your way to where you are. And that's my secondary mission, is to just, as much as possible, wipe that weird thing out. I don't know where it came from, but it was another time, another world, and it should have no bearing on the world we live in today. Yet it does. It seems to be prevalent.
Yeah. Well, the key is we want to work smarter, not harder. Do you have, and I do want to respect your time here, Jack, so we won't keep this much longer, but I'm wondering, do you have a good story that you can share with us about how you've used leverage in your own business? Something that actually surprised you that it worked so well?
Lots of things surprised me that they work so well, because I'm not paying enough attention ahead of time to know to do it on purpose. So I always find out after the fact I did something really great and I didn't know. And a lot of times when you're really too purposeful, you get too self-aware, and then it starts to be a little bit, mechanical, and you can sense that everybody knows you're going through a motion that you learned to do before. So a lot of times it is just accidental. And the way to have more accidents like that, pleasant surprises or accidents or whatever you want to call them, is just to be of service. So whenever a particular story, it typically happens whenever I go out and just, look for somebody to help, or just always be in the mindset of helping people out. So one of the things is when I stopped trying to sell all the time, when I stopped trying to sell things at all. And sometimes it's I make it pretty difficult to find my products and services. Because it's not really where I'm at the time. And I love the people who find their way to me through sometimes a labyrinth that is inadvertently created of places that you got to go, or whatever, things that you have to go through, because I'm too busy serving. I'm too busy just doing stuff to help people. Like I want this to be the best episode of your show after party that you've ever had. At least that's my goal. I'm sure it's not going to be, but that's my goal. I want that to happen. And wherever I go next, and whoever I'm talking to, I make whatever it is they're creating in the world, in any way that I possibly can, a better thing, a better product, a better thing. So in doing so, I've done several, things like that in the past, where it turned into joint ventures, or it turned into integration deals, which are much more profitable and valuable than joint ventures. And I think I did it when I met Gina. She had me on her show years ago, and I was on her show, and I can't remember what I talked about, but it seemed to have made an impact, because she said it was really, she said it was a great show. She always remembered it. Then our paths crossed a year later again. And then we kind of floated apart, but it wasn't a whole year this time before I came back in. And because of the impact that I was able to make on her the show that we did, and then the service that I did all the way back in 2002, because she was following me since then. She followed me with power linking and everything else. And so there's this story building up that you're building at all times of in people's minds and what they think about you. And we'll just look at it as what we think about what people think about from the outside in. So it's like, what are they thinking of me now from a perspective of me? But if from a perspective of service and everything else, you're building a portfolio constantly. And with Gina, I guess I was building my portfolio with her since 2002. Didn't even know it. She's got this whole story about how I helped her with this and how I helped her with that, and I'd never talked to her before. That I did. And then we kind of drifted, and we just kept coming back and bouncing, kind of like those little balls that just everyone, they just start going, and then it's just a buzz. And that's what we did. We were just kind of clicking. I can't remember what, the buckyballs or whatever. And we finally had our final click, and then we became partners. And I can only attribute that to service. That's the only thing I could do. And service is leverage. I mean, that's the currency.
I just did that by starting a Facebook group a few weeks ago, and called the Inspirational Businesswoman Network. Because first of all, the premise of my show is also of service. It's to provide inspirational ideas, strategies, tips that people can pick up and use that are practical to grow their business. And the whole point is I want to create a platform for collaboration where I also am interested in what my viewers do. I want them to share what inspires them, what their passion is. So in starting the Inspirational Businesswoman Network, that was the same idea. How can we collaborate, support, uplift, and inspire each other so that everyone has a greater impact in the world? And as a result, as you say, we start to live a lifestyle that comes from service, but automatically creates profitability. And the more people that support and collaborate and assist one another, the better it is for everyone, because more of the word gets out about what people are doing, and then they find the people that they can serve. So it is really a powerful paradigm shift between the old business model that I think you and I grew up with, which is get out there and get your sales, and it's a numbers game. How many people can you contact and sell, to how can I be of service? How many people can I serve today? In what ways can I be of service to others? And it's a beautiful paradigm. I love it, and I hope that more people will embrace it going forward, because it feels so much better. It feels so much more authentic. It doesn't feel like sales anymore. It just feels like providing and giving. Right. So I love it. So let's finish up with maybe a summary I've placed in the comment section where people can get a copy of the Leverage Blackbook. It's under Jack's gift. You can see it there for those of you who are coming in replay as well. Let's summarize this, because I know there's so much more in your book than you have talked about here today. But what can they expect to get out of a book that, as you said, is not a simple ebook? It is a vast resource for people to think about leveraging their business in more powerful ways.
I think it's a series of tactics nested in an overall strategy, nested in a philosophy, and the outer layer of that, the philosophy, is really just looking at the world in a different way than first giving ourselves permission to do it, to do things differently than our moms and dads did in their world. And now in internet years, you've got many generations of internet, even though it's only just begun, still it goes a lot faster. And there are certain ways that people do things, and we always pick up on that and think that's the way we ought to do it in our business too. And so then you get to the strategy part of leverage in the Leverage Blackbook, and you get a good 3,000-foot view of the way that you could be thinking if you chose to do so. That would have you getting to your biggest goal in your business faster than anything else could possibly. And essentially, changing the way that you think about how you're moving through your world, in your market, and how you appear to everyone else, and how many people of those else's do you appear in front of at a time, and trying to make the biggest impact that you can with the least amount of effort. It's a game. It's kind of like a gamification of success. It has little bells and whistles of rewards when you've achieved a certain goal. That is, when you're done being, when you get your big guest blog post somewhere and people start liking your Facebook page like crazy, because they're all over there reading that, and there's thousands of them, and they're all coming to your Facebook page because that was linked. There's a lot of, it's like gamifying the whole thing, and getting rewarded all along the way. But the biggest reward being that you get where you're going faster. And I think a lot of people just don't fully believe, through attrition and through losing some of their innocence with their business from when they started, and thinking, oh, this literally is sliced bread and everybody needs to, this is going to be the most fantastic. And everybody watching thought that at one point about your business. And the Leverage Blackbook is nothing more than a way to bring that back and go, this is real. If you really still truly believe in your business and you want it to be real, and that big goal to happen, then you now have no excuse but to make it happen. Because sometimes we'll put obstacles in our own way just because we're scared. What if we do actually what if we do have an audience of 150,000 someday? What am I going to do then? You got to start looking at all these weird little busy things that you've given yourself to do with no leverage whatsoever, and at least a year out or 2 years out, before anything really super significant toward that big goal happens, and wonder how many of those things you placed in your own path on purpose. You know, I mean, you don't have to ever go read BuzzFeed and get 15 different ways to do the same one thing, but you find yourself doing that. What is that but self-sabotage? That's ignoring what you really need to be getting done and finding other ways to fill up that time because it's uncomfortable. And a lot of people are just as uncomfortable with the sales stuff that you were talking about before. They're also just as uncomfortable with success.
It's a good point.
I mean, they're scared to death of it, some of them. And that's when you start to find these people with that. It takes 20 minutes for them to describe their whole business and everything they've got to do on a regular daily basis to keep the whole thing together. And it's like, wait a minute, you almost seem more worshipful of that thing that you've created that supports the business that you wanted to be really big than you are of the business that you wanted to be really big.
That's the idea of working in your business rather than on your business, right? Same concept.
Yeah. Of course, you found a way to drill right down. That was leverage right there. Verbal leverage. She found a way to make my big long thing down into that. And perfect.
Yeah. Well, as I say, it's posted here. It's under Jack's Gift. You can go ahead and check that out. It's hmtips.com/leverage-mc. Go ahead and pick up the book. It is so valuable. It's a really good, deep read. This is not, as I say, some quick ebook, but there's so many different strategies that Jack and Gina have both provided for you. So I really hope that you take advantage of that. Jack, I want to thank you so much for your time, because I know your time is valuable. And as I say to all of my viewers, if you pick up one idea, one strategy from what you've heard Jack share with us today and apply it in your life, you are on the path to leverage. So go ahead and take advantage of what he shared with you and get your business leveraged so that you don't have to work so hard on your business or in your business. You can work on your business. Got to make sure I got that phrase right. Thank you so much, Jack, for being here with us today, and also over on the Hangout on Air. Again, if you'd like to go see his full interview there, all you have to do is go to hmtips.com/invite, and you'll be able to catch the replay. Thank you so much.
Thanks for
All
having
right.
me.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.